going to give you a quick kind of tour around Photoshop, just to look at some of the features and how to set things up. Now, first of all, if you're going to make a new file, you go onto File, believe it or not, and New. Pretty self-explanatory. This is where it gets confusing though. Okay, if you look down here, you've got all these options. Okay, I'm going to show you the best way to do it. Now, obviously, go to centimeters or inches, whichever you prefer. You can obviously go for your custom sizes. So let's say I'm printing something out and I want it to be A3. Now, one of the things you'll notice is the resolution here. It may automatically make it 72. That is really low resolution. We want a minimum of 300. Now that is for if it's on screen or if it's on print. It has to be a minimum of 300. Otherwise it will go pixelated and look really, really bad. Now your color mode as well. This is another thing you may need to change. Now RGB refers to something that is going to be digital. It's screen resolution. If you are going to print something, you will want to go to CMYK. CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and key being black. Now these four colours are the colours that make up the inks in your printer. Obviously most of our work will be done digitally, so most of the time you will be keeping it as RGB. And you just then click create. And boom, you've got a new document. Now from here, obviously, if you want to put an image in, you can just drag and drop like that, and it will drop in as a smart object. And you'll notice there's some white gaps. Now these white gaps, obviously, we don't want if we've got this on our screen or we're printing it out. So all we want to do is make sure that this button here is ticked. This is show transform controls. And then we can just stretch the image. Now we want to keep the proportions. Sometimes it will just do it automatically. So at the moment it's doing it automatically for me. Other times, to keep the proportions, you'll have to hold shift while you're stretching it. Okay, but what we don't want to see is images that look like that or like that. Okay, a few other basic things to look at. So here, this is, well, it says the name there. I don't need to say it. It's the rectangular marquee tool. That there, I can obviously select part of the image and it will do these things which we call marching ants. The little things around there, that little box is the marching ants. And from here, you can then, let's say, layer via copy, and you can see the only bit that's copied is the bit that was in the rectangular marquee tool. Down here, you've got your lasso tool. Ta-da! And same thing, but you can just freehand draw around what you want. Now I don't really like using this myself unless I'm using my graphics tablet. If you've got one, you might want to give it a try, but you can see there it will select the area that I drew around. Then we have got our quick selection tool. Now this is one of my favorites, and you can see from the demo in my video here, I don't actually feel I need to show you, but I will anyway. If I need to change the size of this, I just go up to this button here and I can change the size. Try not, until you're a bit more confident, to mess around with hardness and spacing or any of that stuff. Now you see there, I'm selecting just the leaf. It's quite smart. Sometimes it will go a bit over or it'll miss bits out, and then I'll just go to the negative brush. You can see that one there is positive. This one's negative, and I can just go around like that. And again, Control C, Control V, or Command C, Command V if you're on a PC, and it copies and pastes. Now some more tools you might want to have a look at are your paintbrush. So if you're ever going to draw on your work, now as I said, this is a smart object, so I can't draw directly on it, so I'll do a new layer, which is the button down here. It's got a little plus sign, and that's my new layer. And I can then draw on that. So I can change my paintbrush. And you can see I've got a collection of paintbrushes which gives different marks. So I've got, for example, this one, which we can't see for some reason. Oh, it's gone on to smudge, that's why, because it's not a paintbrush, it was a smudging one. But there you go, there's one kind of paintbrush. Let's go on to, you know, the soft round one. See there, they give different effects. Dry media brushes. Some of these you do need to download yourself. There you go. Pencil tool, you don't need to worry about that too much. The next one you might want to use is your clone stamp tool. This is one of my favorites. So the clone stamp tool is what would be used normally to airbrush out acne in photos and stuff like that. So all I do is I want to zoom in, clone stamp tool. Oh, I need to rasterize the object as well. To rasterize the object and stop it from being a smart object, you just have to right click it and you then go to rasterize, which I can't see at the moment. I'd need to get, there we go. Rasterize, got my clone stamp tool. I'm going to increase it a little bit, but not too much. And let's say I want to get rid of this white bit here. Okay. A beginner might just go onto the eyedropper tool here, get the colour, and then try painting over it. Okay, it's noticeable. Whereas when we use the clone stamp tool, I press Option on a Mac and select an area, and you can see it's just copying that area. Now it's best to do this with a smaller brush. Do it in a softer brush as well, which I should have had. There we go. Softer brush helps you blend it a bit better. So if we go here, see that looks a little bit more natural. Okay, so that's quite an important one. It works really well on skin, but I said the smaller the brush and the softer the brush, the better. Next one, your eraser. Obviously, this has been rasterized. If I erase it now, it's going to have no background. So if I print it, it will end up being white. Okay, Control Z. This is your paint bucket tool, which just drops paint into an area. Obviously, like with things like Microsoft Paint, if it's just a plain background, it will cover the whole thing. This can be used, obviously. Oh, I'm not going to get into it, actually. If I get into it, we're going to be here all day. You've then got your blur tool. You've got your smudge tool. Sponge tool, don't worry about that too much. Horizontal type tool. Again, you just put it on and then you write whatever you want. It's in green. So let's select it. There we go. And again, you can choose loads of different typefaces. You can adjust the size of them, all sorts. Let's get rid of that. You've then got your pen tool. This here is very similar to with Adobe Illustrator and drawing your vectors, but you can draw simple shapes like that. You can then go on to the convert point tool, and then playing around with this, you can then manipulate it, make it curved if you want to, move it around. This is really good if you've got a drawing that you're going to trace with the pen tool. And then obviously your magnifier. Okay, positive, zoom in, negative, zoom out. That's it for the tools, well, these icons. What I'll do is another video to show you a few other of the settings on this side. I hope you enjoyed.